Now, France has recorded a sharp spike in coronavirus deaths after it started including the number of deaths at nursing homes. Almost 900 deaths from homes have been added, pushing the daily toll toward 1,400. The nursing homes deaths have occurred during the course of France's outbreak. France has 59,000 cases of the virus and 5,400 fatalities. A warehouse at the main Paris food market complex has been requisitioned as a mortuary to help accommodate the city's dead. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by journalist and author Chris Bockman in Toulouse, France. Now, Chris, can you tell us more about the sharp spike in the death toll? It appears the figure missed out on a lot of cases previously.
That's right, Yvonne. I mean, just in the last few days, the figure's been going up from like 100, 150 to now close to 500 per day. Yesterday was around 500. But then they added 800 for old people's homes, nursery homes. And they said that they hadn't been counting the deaths in those homes. And some of the homes have been absolutely wiped out, like in a forest fire, finding 20 people out of 80 staying at these homes who are dying. And so they added 800 to that figure yesterday, making it now more than 5,200 dead. But they believe, the authorities, they said that really this is really underreporting. They think that there's actually far more people who are dying in retirement homes at the moment. And there's about 850,000 people who actually live in these retirement homes across France. So that figure, they believe, will be much, much higher. They haven't tested the people who've been dying, and they are now doing checks basically across the country at homes to see how the death spikes in the last few weeks. And they do say expect a lot more grim news over the coming days, in fact.
And Chris, it's been reported that even as recently as last week at a nursing home in Lyon, residents were still dining together and staff were not wearing masks. Is this what you've been hearing? How much physical distancing are people in France practicing?
Well, talking about the mask, there's still, as in the United Kingdom, as in other places, in the United States, there's a lack of masks. A lot of retirement homes haven't been getting the masks they need, nor the disinfectant they need. I'll just tell you a story yesterday. A lot of French politicians who run the regions in France said that they had planes on standby in China to bring masks over yesterday. And American officials happened to be on the tarmac as well and said, if you divert those masks to the US rather than sending them to France, we'll pay you 3 times more in cash right now on the spot. And that's senior politicians in France who run regions around France saying that's why a lot of the masks aren't getting here on time, because basically there's an inflation in prices and there's some nasty kind of black arts going on the tarmacs in China to get those masks over to the United States rather than over to France and other places. So right now, one of the key problems, and we're now seeing the repercussions of this, is that when the lockdown, being forced to live at home 3 weeks ago started, about 20% of the people in this city, which is about 800,000, and about 20% of the people in Paris decided we're not going to stay confined in our apartments in the city, we're going to move to our second homes or stay with family in the countryside. And so a lot of them brought the virus with them. And now we're seeing parts of the country which are generally quite remote, even islands off the coast of Brittany, which are very attractive in summer and get overpopulated in many ways, are now facing a lot of cases of virus on these islands because Parisians and people from cities like mine brought the virus with them as they decided to go there. In theory, tonight, it's the school break. Holidays start now for schools for 2 weeks. And so the prefect down here, who acts as the regional governor for the government in various regions, has put out this press release. In fact, I got sent it earlier on this morning, that even though the weather, and it's fantastic weather right now, is going to be very, very good over the next coming days, that is no excuse to now take your children and go to your house on the countryside or to the coast. You're not allowed to. If you're confined now, you stay where you're confined. And if you do try and leave, you'll face a hefty fine and your car will be turned back. So that's the situation here right now.
Well, what are the measures in place? And of course, enforcing them is going to be harder given it's Easter next week, as you've mentioned, and holidays. Can you tell us a bit more about that and also your experience of the lockdown so far, given it's been 3 weeks, I understand?
Yeah, this is the 3rd week, and who knows much longer. Look, this is something which I have to print out every day. Everyone has to print out a confinement. It's something from the Ministry of the Interior over here, and I have to point out, if I have to sign it, my address, what time I'm leaving the house, and what I'm going to go do. I have a choice. I can go to do some sport, but no more than 1 kilometre away from here and no more than an hour. If I'm going to buy some food, if I'm going to have to go because I've got a court appointment, or if I actually have to go to work. And every time I leave my home, I have to fill out one of these forms. And the police are around and about quite a lot, checking to see and asking to see that form. If I don't have that form with me, then I face an automatic €135 fine, which is, I think, in about 220 Australian dollars. So you can imagine that's quite big. And if I get caught a second time, then that fine gets doubled. And in fact, some people, I think it's on the third time, you can go to jail. And some people have gone to jail. In fact, they've raised 40 million euros just from these fines in the last 3 weeks. So they're taking this pretty seriously. So that's the most important thing. So you have to be confined to your home, or you can go to work. But the problem is that a lot of companies right now, there's no work. The restaurants, companies can't do any manufacturing. So at the moment, and I'm staggering figure, 1 in 5 people in the private sector in France is currently on temporary unemployment. So they're losing some of their salary, but the government quickly said that if you do have to put people onto temporary unemployment, we'll pick up the tab for the employer. But now they're realizing that check is so big, and it could be extended to April as well. They're now telling companies, well, actually, you've got to send people back to work. You've got to get construction sites working again. You've got to get manufacturing up and running. And they're beginning to do that again, because the fee that will have to be paid by the government and eventually the taxpayer for this lockdown is going to be huge.
And just finally, hospitals have almost doubled their intensive care beds to 9,000. Will this even be enough during the pandemic, or are there plans for more facilities?
Well, let me just tell you that in 2 hours from now, I'm going to have to go back to the airport, because for the first time, 6 more patients are being brought down from eastern France, which is really at the center of the outbreak, and coming to Toulouse on a military aircraft. It's the first time. Some others have come down on private planes, but now it's a military helicopter bringing them down here, because here in the southwest, thankfully for the time being, we haven't been impacted that much. But the reason why they're bringing them down here is because in Paris and in eastern France, they literally just don't have any space left right now. So they're bringing them here. We might get impacted, say, in 2 weeks from now, but hopefully they're thinking that the patients who are down here for the next 2 weeks will then be able to leave the hospital, and that creates a bit of more space for the cases that will eventually come down here as well and impact us.